Titanfall, See Them Burns.
Indeed.
It is the review day for Titanfall, and you've been the man from VideogamerTV to go and play it and make an opinion on that video game with robots in it.
I went to play it on Thursday and Friday last week at a 2-day review event, which isn't ideal. And, you know, we all know what happened with Battlefield, and we'll have to see how that plays. But, you know, that was how it was. So I played it. You may have seen the review. Gave it 8 out of 10.
Yes. Is that the score you... What were you expecting from Titanfall when you went in? Because there's been a hell of a lot of hype about this game.
Yeah. I think it's
the next-gen game of this year, in many respects.
It's dangerous to go into... I think you got to check your expectations, because otherwise you end up reviewing the game you want it to be.
Before you wreck yourself.
Yes, indeed. But I thought it had the potential to be really, really good, and it is very enjoyable, but yeah, I think it's not there yet. I think inevitably Titanfall 2 will be the game that really realizes the ambitions of the studio, and at the moment Titanfall feels like a hyper-budgeted mod for Call of Duty, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But at the same time, so you have all this cool stuff, like you have the Titans that drop in, you have the F-block mode where you have to escape if you are defeated and into the dropship. But at the same time, you're still kind of playing capture the flag. You're still playing on very static and non-dynamic environments. So I think in a lot of people's minds, what they anticipated Titanfall might be like is probably closer to what Destiny might be like. So, for example, campaign mode. Campaign multiplayer is a story over the top of it, and you warp between places. But that warping is literally just a loading screen. And you get a bit of story before and after, and actually during the battle.
Yeah,
but
you can see in some of the video that we're using that a couple of characters show up and have a bit of Titanfall banter. There's a South African guy who seems to be rather angry.
Yeah, they're all angry about something. I played it through on both sides. I just thought, this is nonsense, and it didn't affect anything. So we lost every game thanks to my teammates who will go unnamed.
All right,
but we lost every game. I'm not this much of a dick, really. We lost every game, and at the end, because we were playing as one of the factions that was fated to win the story, we won. And so a lot of people are like, what? So it seems like they had all these kind of ideas that haven't really come to fruition there. I mean, I still really, really liked it. It has that one more go appeal of Call of Duty, and with the new vertical element, the kind of that jetpack, single boost jetpack, and the running lines that you can get involved with, it's a lot more strategic than Call of Duty. But while still retaining that, running gun element. But it kind of falls down when a lot of the maps are quite samey, so they run into each other. And
I mean, there's a fair amount. I think we're going to have a link at the end of this video so you can check out some gameplay from each of the maps. But I think there's 16 in total, 15 or 16. So
that's a lot.
A good number, but none really stick out.
It's a good number, but the number of good maps is significantly lower. And yeah, they kind of bleed into one.
I guess we're just because of how the Titans work, that you are a little bit more limited into how you can change the maps, because you're going to have fairly big open areas so you can summon the Titans and move around effectively.
Yeah, with Call of Duty, you don't necessarily... Well, I mean, I'm not saying their map designers don't work hard or anything, but it's a whole new challenge, because in Call of Duty you don't have to worry much about...
Giant robots.
Yeah, and about structures over, or really anything above and beyond, say, 20 feet of clearance above the character's head. So, well, with this, with the wall running, the parkour, the jetpacking, the fucking giant robots, you have to worry a lot about where the lines are. And that's what great map design is that, running lines and lines of sight and everything like that. So, I mean, I know they've got a lot of maps. Not a lot of them are amazing. Some of them are.
Did any of them stand out as being like some of the better ones?
We can tell why Angel City was included.
They seem to be using that in a lot of their promotional stuff.
Yeah. And there are a few different ones. There's one set. There's one set in like a lagoon, and the entire left-hand side of the map, it looks like something out of Far Cry 3. It's got like little huts on what are they called? Shacks.
Okay.
That are like in the water, and so it is a crystal, like this blue, clear kind of water as well. Looked very tropical. And you're like, oh, this is quite different. But a lot of them are kind of brown, grey,
city fighting kind of stuff,
steel blue sort of, and I think they'll become more and more impressive maybe as they start to learn how to do more with them.
Of course, I mean that is, we'll never really fully understand these maps until weeks and weeks have passed and people
until
have
it's out in the
really,
wild
figured out how
and real people have
work.
played it and exploited them to death. But again, the problem is not necessarily the maps themselves, but it's the modes. So you have attrition, which is just deathmatch. You have pilot hunter, which is deathmatch essentially.
What's the difference?
The pilot hunter is in attrition you get points for killing the NPCs, so the bots. In pilot hunter, your score only goes up by 1 with each pilot you kill.
Right,
so
okay.
it's not like in attrition, where, as the name suggests, you keep on piling your points until someone. And in pilot hunter, it's a lot easier, in my experience, to win, because in attrition, the games you can always make up a bit of that score by shooting the phenomenally stupid robots. Whereas in this, you have to kill people, and these people are smart and they make good choices. So generally, the better team will always win. So then you have capture the flag, then you have domination, and those are game modes that have been running for 20 years or whatever. And just think, I wanted a bit more. The epilogue is a cool thing where you have to get away at the end, and I wanted a bit more of that thinking, a bit more of that dynamism to kind of come into the modes themselves, battling for a bit like maybe like PlanetSide, where you're constantly going back and forth. Maybe a bit like Battlefield's rush mode. Yeah,
I think you said to me before we started this video that you really want to go back and play more Titanfall, but not necessarily those modes anymore. You want something maybe a little different.
And
that's okay. That's fair enough. I
guess. Yet the game itself is still very playable, very fun. So it's actually a difficult one. It's another one of those games that makes review scores look a little bit stupid, because assigning this number on the back end of what are seemingly contradictory opinions about how can it be fun if it's boring in some ways.
Yeah.
But it has that one more go factor that I think Call of Duty is kind of lost, because Call of Duty has become really bloated and everything's about yet more unlockable bullshit. It's like, oh, you've got a camo for your fucking shoes or something. Why? Whereas in this, it's very clear where the trade-offs are made. It goes strength or speed, essentially, stealth or aggro. But then the game asks you to change your tactics depending on how the Titans themselves are doing. So you have 2 sets of classes, essentially your pilot and your Titan class. And it's quite clear what you have to do to win within those. So you don't have like 15 of assault rifles. You have 2 or 3. And so it's it has that, okay, I know what gear I've got. You don't have gear envy all the time. Just straight in. The beginning assault rifle is probably too good. I mean, I barely use anything else. Why would I? I mean, I can kill people from miles away, and it's fully automatic.
There's an interesting argument there, because on one hand, that's great because it means there is a level of balance there that isn't affected by, oh, that guy's a higher level than me, has access to better weapons. But on the other hand, the whole point of these unlock progression systems is that you need that goal. You need something like, man, if I get to this level, then I can start playing around.
You need an incentive, don't you, to keep on going. I remember playing Call of Duty World at War, and I think one of the maybe it was level 44 or something, or maybe a bit higher. There was a German machine gun, the STG 44, which just rinsed people, and it was even more powerful than the MP40, which was terrifying.
Yeah, that brings up the same argument, doesn't it? I mean, that kind of sucks that there is that imbalance there. How did you find the balance in general across the game? Did you any weapons stand out as being too powerful, or?
I thought there wasn't a lot of. I can only speak for the people I played it with, and obviously, as soon as it goes live, there'll be such a broader range of experiences, which again is another problem. We'll probably talk about that in another podcast. But there was no sniping really, because you're so mobile, and sniping seemed to take a bit of a backseat. But really, there's like an M1 Garand kind of weapon, which is single shot.
Yeah.
However, I used to use the M21 in COD 4 all the time because you could spam it if you were close and you'd probably kill, and it had a scope on it and it was single shot. It was like a sniper rifle hybrid essentially. However, in my experience with Titanfall, the default assault rifle fulfills that criteria because it can fire single or burst groupings really quickly and really accurately. So I'm killing people from quite a long way away, and it kind of negated the need for me to switch my tactics there. Okay. So I'd say that maybe that might get nerfed, but again, it's open to everyone from the start. So it kind of made, for me, the other weapons a bit redundant, which is fine because, I mean, no one's going to really be chopping and changing. But again, it's not a kind of like Gears of War shotgun kind of issue where... No, up close, if you hip fire it, you're in trouble. Okay. But ADS, almost anywhere, you're fairly unstoppable. I think from what I've seen just from the gameplay that you recorded and from other sites, that there does seem to be a nice kind of variety in the way that people approach the game, because you've talked about this, how your approach has changed since the preview event. Like that, being in a Titan when you initially play is like, that's the goal. It's the coolest thing. You're in a goddamn giant robot. You can mess things up. But you've started to kind of appreciate using the Titan as a distraction or as something to help guard you, which isn't necessarily what people would have expected from a game where you can summon robots from the sky and run around firing rockets at people. No, that's absolutely correct. And the natural strategies that were coming out were quite interesting to watch. I remember at these events, I like to kind of step back and see how other people are playing it. And because you won't really get that opportunity elsewhere. When you're playing online, you're not in the same room generally with 40 other people. But to begin with, most people they'll treat it as a kill streak reward. And for those of you who don't know how it works, when you start, there's a preset amount of time before you get it, so you'll always get it. However, if you kill quickly and efficiently, you decrease the time. And so people love, firstly, it's cool because you jump onto it and it grabs you and throws you into the cockpit, and you have that moment where the 4 screens or whatever all boot not simultaneously though, so you just get your peripheral vision filled as you start moving. However, I started to play the game using it more as a lure or distraction. So I'd get in it, wouldn't even get in it, I'd call it, and then I'd use it as a guard, especially in domination. So you take a base, just leave it in there. And so anyone else trying to get in has a big problem on their hands. Now, it does tell you when it's being autopiloted. It says above where your name is. And, of course, if you get rodeoed, so if someone jumps onto it, then you can't get out. And so if you've left it somewhere, you left your car parked, you can't look after it. But you got to balance being a massive tank with also being quite a large target. Yeah, a huge target. There's no way of... the whole speed and stealth approach doesn't really work when you're at giant. And there's different types of the Titans. So there's one called the Ogre, which is incredibly well armored, but it's quite slow. And there's one called Strider, I believe, which is incredibly fast, but not very well armored. And Strider will win each time, because once you start to unlock more of the ordnance bonuses, so you can get like a resistance-style overshield, which you can shoot through, but they can't. And when you are in a Titan, if someone is using the default Ghost perk, well, it's like not unlockable, it's just on LB, where the pilot's been invisible for a short time, the Titan's optics don't pick it up at all, really. Right. So to the human eye, to the pilot eye, you can see it shimmering like the Predator, but in the feed in the Titan, you can't make it out. So in the end, I just went Titan hunting. You get like a weapon that's separate from the 2 that you take in, and it's an anti-Titan rocket launcher or kind of heavy machine gun. And I've seen in the gameplay that does seem to be your favourite approach, and it seems to work pretty well. And I guess that's cool, because immediately there are 2 very distinct playstyles there. There's the people that want to play Titan and the people who want to play Titan Hunter. And I like that kind of immediate, you've got 2 directions to go. Yeah, and that's the thing, that's what I was saying earlier about the game, is that it's very clear about what your chosen class will offer you. And then whilst you're in the game, that's when your own skill comes in to deciding which strategy to get on with, and also it's a more naturally team-focused game because to win, you have if two Titans drop in for the other team, you gotta take them down. It's a lot like when air support used to come in Call of Duty 4, because that was so powerful.
Yeah.
And in later games you had like cold blood and everything, so you couldn't be seen. But in those moments in COD 4 where the whole team would go, right, the chopper's in, and they just
everyone has to work together.
and then that gives the other team an opportunity to hunt them while they're... So there's this lovely kind of rock, paper, scissors thing. And Titanfall does that really, really well. But I'm going to be very interested to see how the first week goes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess, yeah, as we said at the beginning, the one, big stopping factor, how well the servers handle the game.
Of course.
There were a few issues during the beta, which were to be expected, I guess, but there's going to be a hell of a lot of people playing this, the first big Xbox One title.
Yeah, and it's being bundled in as well, so people are going to be picking up their machines, and there is nothing more frustrating than getting a big multiplayer game you want to play and the servers being down. COD 4, I think Xbox Live went down, I think it was late 2007, went down for 2 weeks. I mean, it's just crazy to think that would happen now, and that was when COD 4 was in its real first flush of success, and I remember being so angry about this because it was addictive and because it gave me something that I hadn't played before. I think Titanfall, you have kind of played it before, but you'll still like what they're offering you. It's not despite its faults, and there are a few faults, there is that, like I said, one more go thing about it, and you can tell it's a game that's designed by smart people, like the burn cards, like single-use perks that you can take into the game, and they're activated once you die. You can make a choice as to pick up, so you can run faster or deploy ordnance quicker or any of that. That seems to be a better thing for changing strategies than always having on Juggernaut.
Yes. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what other people make of it, because at the event there were a few people saying, I think they thought the same as me. It's like, love the concept and it is fun, but maybe there's something missing.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it doesn't sound like your kind of initial opinion when you went to the preview events, and yes, this is fun and I want to play more of it. That doesn't sound like that's changed. It's just
no.
You kind of you would have liked to see a little bit more variation in terms of maps and game modes. Yeah,
that I remember saying,
just to flesh it out a little bit more.
When I previewed it, I said it could be great. I don't think it is a great game. I think it's a very good one. I said it could be great if they have different modes and maps that support these. And I know they're almost completely different, so you have to bear with me on this one. But when you think about Battlefield, you think about the moments that the map design and the modes and the destruction. The moment they don't do anything on their own, it's how they change players' approach to them. And if there was just a Battlefield game where you had to capture the flag, no matter how good those vehicles were, it would just be like another version of Return Fire to the 3DO. So I think that Titanfall has got a great start. This is a real proof of concept. It works, it's going to sell well, the parkour's fucking really cool, the Titans are cool.
It's a cool
strategy.
game.
The strategy, it makes you feel awesome when you're running and gunning and throwing grenades in windows and then calling in massive strikes and jumping into the roof of your Titan just as someone else is trying to kill you, and then you power up. But I don't think that the underlying maps and modes are there to support a truly great game, which is a shame, but they'll get infinity $1 billion for this, and then they'll move on to Titanfall 2, and that will, I hope, fix those problems.
And to be fair, we also live in a time where there's obviously going to be some kind of DLC coming later down the line that maybe they'll be able to learn from play reaction over the next few weeks in terms of what they want from future maps, future game modes. Those are things that can be changed. The fact that the core concept is strong is the most important point.
For future, one of the more interesting points is this is a Call of Duty game. It feels, it looks, it runs, it plays like a Call of Duty game. And there are now 2 COD games. There are 2 COD franchises. So which one are players going to do? Both?
Which is better at the moment?
I take Titanfall over Ghosts. Just because it feels fresher. Yeah. It feels more enjoyable, and because there are more options now. Call of Duty is becoming really bloated, and it's, you know, these unlock systems, these strike packages, and they were kind of cool at first, but they now smack of a desperation just to stick more shit in there. Michael Myers is in it. What?
Yeah.
Why? Like, you know, and anyway, but it's so strange. There are now 2 competing Call of Duty franchises. That's so, I can't remember a time when, imagine there were just 2 versions of FIFA that played exactly the same, except one wasn't called FIFA and had robots in it.
It's not a bad thing. I mean,
Oh no,
Call
it's
of Duty
a good
is
thing.
stagnating. It needs.
But it'll be
needs
interesting to
competition.
see how Respawn and EA deal with the next round of Call of Duty games, how they sell, and what steps Titanfall, the franchise, or sorry, the series, takes to correct or cannibalize players.
All right, great. Thanks, Steve. I guess we'll have a link to your review in the video description if you're on YouTube.
Yep.
And we're going to have a bunch of different links here so you can check out some gameplay from each of the maps. You said Angel City stands out as a good one.
Angel City stands out as, well, it was the one in the beta. It's the one where they showed off a lot of the stuff. So there are a few cool maps. So check them out. I'm sure there'll be some fan favorites on YouTube within 25 seconds of me leaving this room. I can get out of the map here. I hate you, EA. I hate your families. But yeah, check out the links, check out the review, and let us know what you think.
Hooray, Titanfall!